.545, Dave, you ready to go? Okay, if we could please, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Roll call, Mary, if you would, please.
Mr. Kirby.
Here.
Mr. Wright.
Here.
Mr. Lopez.
Here.
Mr. Hennis.
Here.
And Mrs. Harrington. Here.
First up for this afternoon is for the ASBA board session discussion. I believe we're going to have
Yes.
their representative zoom in and visit with us a little bit.
So if you might want to, until she jumps in, maybe go to board review, board agenda review until she jumps in.
We'll go ahead and go down to item C, which is the board agenda review. Now is an opportune time to, if there are any questions or for the current, for this afternoon's 6:30 agenda, any questions or any questions for Dr. Battle or the rest of the staff that are here today? Yeah. Just for, just a couple of the items are housekeeping kind of items correctly, the intergovernmental agreement with CAC dual enrollment, and then the intergovernmental agreement with Cabot. These are annual
Yes, sir.
agreements we need to do.
That's correct. And so moreover, we've had an opportunity to revisit them and understand what the expectations are at the site, as well as with our new director this year at CTE. We have a presentation for you a little bit later. That will be very helpful to understand where we are at CTE. And as far as CAC, there's some wonderful changes there that you all have seen and read for our students regarding the project impact and opportunities for dual enrollment. So again, those are annual agreements.
Okay. Any other items, anything in particular that needs to be brought to our attention as far as anything personnel or anything else like that, or just kind of housekeeping kind of stuff looks like?
Yes, sir. There's nothing that's standing out. We are starting the school year, so there will be some personnel items that will come before you as a part of our regular board meeting. But if you have any questions about any of that, we'll also give you the executive documents for your perusal. But I am very happy with what we've put together for you so that you are informed and can make informed decisions. If you'd like, President Harrison, we could move on to one of the presentations if our guest is not here, and when she arrives, then we'll modify and adjust.
That would probably be awesome. So you want to go ahead and move to the CTE presentation
Okay, then I'm gonna have to,
or the summer school presentation? Do you have a preference?
Yes, whichever one works best at this time, Mary and Dave, which is easiest for us to do, so that we can transition back if need be with Ms. Whaley.
what I'll have to do, we'll have to disconnect that and then put this back. I'll keep an eye on it, and if she pops in,
Okay, that's perfect. So yes, Chairman, we will start with our CTE presentation, and then we'll be followed by our summer school. So what's important, one is you'll hear from Ms. Miller, who's going to give you some detailed information relative to our CTE opportunities in working with Cabot. Already, I'm very impressed with her work and her effort and her intuition as she came with us, for us, from our schools. So her passion is there and highly invested in our school district. She's done amazing job learning more from
You know what?
leadership.
I'm sorry, she just popped on.
Oh, okay, I'll finish. the
Perfect
statement,
timing.
though.
Saved by the bell.
Yeah.
But it was a lovely intro.
It was.
And so with that said, I want to make sure.
Actually, it's taped, so we could play it again.
That's great, great, thanks.
I'm sure Lisa would mind hearing all the wonderful things again, but let me just close with this. You will be as impressed as I am
Hi,
with her
Nikki.
work. And we'll go ahead and transition
Hold on,
back to
let me get
Nikki,
you, I gotta get you
and then we'll have
connected.
you go.
And then
No
we'll
problem.
get started here.
Okay. I'll set up Nikki, how about that?
Even better. So
Okay.
we're back in item B, which is ASBA board sessions discussion.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman. Welcome, Nikki. We are here and we are grateful that you're here to share with us. We've had a lot of discussion, as you all know, about what we want to do and learn from with each other. As your interim superintendent, as this new board collectively has gathered to help serve this community. So we want to hear from you. Nikki's going to share what she can offer as it relates to some time that's conducive and a date that may work for everyone. So feel free to ask questions of Nikki. And then if you have some direction, which we hope that you do, that we'll schedule a time that's conducive for us to have a collaborative session to build upon the professional working relationship that the superintendent and board members should.
It's about a 3-hour session, is that correct?
That's what she's recommending, yes, depending on what you select. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I believe the direction from this came after from the representatives, Steve Hyland, who helped facilitate your hiring and the district. And he recommended as a getting to know the board, we have 2 brand new board members here, and also to get, spend some time with the superintendent, just some kind of a hello, meet, greet, and spend a little bit of time and get feelings and understandings of people. Not a kind of just kind of facilitated, have them kind of walk us through that, but not a full-on training session, if that's correct.
That's correct.
Thank you.
We're almost ready for you, Ms. Whalen.
You all froze for me.
Okay,
There she is.
we can see you now. Can you hear us? Ms. Whaley?
We can hear you. Can you hear us, Nikki? We're working on volume.
Can you check? Oh, he's got you.
Yeah.
Can you hear us now?
Can you hear us now?
She's
She's
frozen.
She froze.
Oh, goodness. Technology,
I
you
know.
gotta love it, don't you?
She's gonna probably have to go out and come back in.
That sounds good.
So she's working from home.
Dave, do we have to unplug and go back again? We've done this before.
Can you, send her a message, Dave?
No, she's off.
Oh.
She's disconnected on her end.
So can I offer this?
Should we go back to? Go ahead. We're still working on it.
Let's see if we can get her offline. And then when we're ready, we'll go ahead and pull her back in, even if it is for a phone conversation. That's okay.
That sounds great.
Oh, did she just send a message?
There, now you can have it for the CTE presentation.
Presentation. Very good. You're up.
Thank you.
Practicing flexibility. There you go. It's one of the best characteristics a leader can have.
Dave, can we say,
Okay,
tell her that
you're
we'll
ready.
try like 6:15? Set up the time.
All right, and use your hand.
Good evening, President Lenz, board members, Dr. Battle, thank you for this opportunity to present what we're working on in CTE currently. I am your CTE director, Lisa Miller, and I have been with the district almost 5 years now, but new in this capacity. So I'm super excited to start talking to you about what's going on in CTE. So, doing great things, only we're gonna do them better. We already know we have great programming in place. Let's start with our district strategic priorities. We set these up 2 or 3 years ago at this point. Competitive educational workforce development, that is right up my alley with career technical education, as well as viable curriculum that promotes high student achievement. We are trying very hard to make sure that our students are leaving our campuses ready for whatever career next step they have, whether that's education, further education, or to get into the job market right away. All right, so I want to talk about our current successes, our data, and where we intend to go from here. We have nationally award-winning programs. We are among the top in the state of Arizona in our CTSOs. We have international competitors, national and state officers. We have CAVIT excelling programs. Nationally recognized industry certifications are earned by our students inside the programming that we offer at both campuses. Now, the link that I have on my presentation sends you to the school's website, and I just want to point out a couple things. I would love to show you a video, but we're going to run out of time if I do that. So on this page, which I'm not sure, let me see if I can move this over. There we go. So on this page, you will find the videos that were created for the CTE department last year. And what you'll see, if they want to load, is not only the CTE Students of the Month, but on the right-hand side, you're going to see from each campus video pop up from each of our programs. And in those, the students actually tell their personal story and their associations with our programming. And like I said, I'd love to show you one of these, but they're 3-4 minutes long, so I'm gonna cut that off. I'm gonna show you where to find them. So if you want to learn about automotive and what we're offering at Union, it's there. If you want to learn about early childhood development and what we're offering on both campuses, it's there. Our agricultural organization, FFA, is in here. I actually watched the one, automotive technology. This young man has a true handle on his pathway, and he does an excellent job of explaining what his goals were and how he's attaining them through the programming. Biotech, every one of these students has a story. So I'm going to allow you to do that on your time, but I highly recommend you get in there and look at the kids' stories because they tell the best ones.
Just what you should take about three minutes per.
3 minutes per video.
Do
And
you want to put the automotive one up just so?
I actually have seen it.
You've seen it? Okay, great.
okay,
Thank
all right. That was, I don't know what it was about that one, but he really explained himself very well, and I wanted to make sure I told you that. So moving on. One of the things that is vitally important in this department is our funding. So we get grants from various sources. CAVIT is the blue area of this chart, and it is almost 60% of our funding currently. That can fluctuate a little bit depending on enrollment and attainment. State priority grant, 75% of that is based on enrollment, 25% is based on their post-high school placement, and I'll go into some detail of how that works in just a minute. Our Perkins money and our individual grants, those are connected to teacher credentials and what's happening in our classrooms along with enrollment. Individual grants can also be earned through some of those certifications that I mentioned, those nationally recognized certifications also get us a little bit of grant money. So I want to talk about where we're at, and that is our program enrollment right now. There's some very specific definitions. Participants, those are students who are earning 1 credit in the current reporting year. The concentrators, those are the students who will have completed 2 courses in 1 program. Now, they can go on and do more than 1 program, but a concentrator has completed 2. So they've been with us for a couple of years. Others, there's anyone who is not a participant nor a concentrator in a particular year. So somebody who took culinary arts, never took year 2, it's been a couple years since they've been in anything, that would be an other. And we have a lot of those. A lot of kids just take that 1 class. And then the number who've passed their assessments, because each year there is a CTE skills assessment that is given, and that is done through the state of Arizona. And I will also show you how many took that skills assessment. All right, so 2021 enrollment. Across the district, we had 809 participants. Concentrators were at 531. Others were at 1,500. The number of concentrators who took that CTE assessment was at 287, and 78% of those students passed that assessment. That helps with our funding. The more students that pass those assessments, the more likely it is that we're going to be funded. CAVIT, their board, when they are reviewing our programming, they want to make sure that our students are successful and that we are providing a variety of programming activities for our students.
So a question on that.
Go for it.
So just on that CT assessment,
Yes.
so is that a one-time, or is that because they take the assessment skills, or they pass, or that's class, actual in-class, different classes that they pass, et cetera, or what does that actually translate to?
I will explain that a little bit better.
Okay.
So that CTE skills assessment is given to only the students that are in their 2nd year, normally. They normally only get 1 chance to take that test. Now, if they fail, there are certain parameters that have to be met for them to be able to retake it. And if they fail the test, if they are eligible to retake, they are allowed to retake it. They can retake it within a few days, or they can retake it in their 3rd year if they are a 3rd year student. But we do want to have them pass it that first time, okay? I do not have the data that shows me how many had to retake. I know in my own classroom it was a rare occasion. Okay. Did I answer your concern? Mr. Lopez?
I'm just looking at the concentrators.
Yes.
The number that took it, and
Yes.
it's kind of low.
It had something to do with that, perhaps not. I don't want to speak to that because I have not investigated it yet.
As far as the instructors go, do they take a good amount of time to prepare these students for these assessment tests?
I believe that everything they do in the classroom is preparing them for their skills test, simply because it is so entwined with the industry. The CTE skills assessment is directly connected to a program. So when I was teaching marketing, my students only took a marketing exam. If you're in automotive, you're taking the automotive skills exam. So they are targeted to the particular programs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would just like to see a higher number of.
I honestly would like to see a higher number of those who take the test as well as pass it.
Sure.
I also would like to see that we have more concentrators so that, we get more success for the student, and it also helps with our funding.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so when we talk about funding, when we track our students, we track them for 2 years past graduation. So once a CTE concentrator passes that assessment, their time with us is not over. They pass the assessment, they graduate, and we continue to track them. And so the way that we do this, we have a survey that they fill out, and the CTE specialist at a Steinhoff, she will literally call them, call their parents, call their aunt or uncle or whoever contact we have to make sure that she has them placed where they need to be. Post-secondary placement means that they have gone on to study. Now, we have not in the past tracked 2-year, 4-year apprenticeships, but we are going to start doing that in 2021. Military placement and employment placement are also tracked for those 2 years post-graduation. So our 2018 graduates will fall off of our data starting this year, and we start tracking our 2021 graduates in October. So we will do 6-month check-ins with them to see what they're up to. All right, so let's talk about some more data. Now on the Arizona performance measures, you're going to notice as I go through them that those blue lines, which are our CTE concentrators, are, for the most part, higher than the orange or red bars. Those orange and red bars show the state average. We are exceeding the state averages on everything except reading attainment in 2018. We had academic math attainment, our technical skills assessments, the secondary completion, the graduation rates, and placement rates were all exceeding the state averages across all areas. Now, I want to show you 2019. You'll notice over here that reading attainment went up a little bit higher, and I'll talk about that in a moment. And then in this one, the only other area where we fell below the state average was in non-traditional participation. And the quick version of that is there are occupations that tend to be very gender specific. Nursing is usually a woman's role. So a non-traditional student in that particular category, a CAVIT, would be a male student, just as a non-traditional person in automotive would be a female. Then that last column, non-traditional completion, that shows you the percentage of our non-traditional students that are actually completing their programs, which is very high. So while the data shows we were a little under what we had been, it's still a good thing. Now I'm going to look at this a little bit differently for this. So in 2018, our reading attainment was very low compared to 2019. And guess what happened in between? We actually set some goals in the CTE department. We set some literacy goals. And I truly believe because we set those literacy goals, we showed achievement at a better rate the following year. Now, when I look at 2020, we all know what happened. We all know things were a little different for the end of the school year for that particular set of concentrators, but we still exceeded the state averages. And I feel that a 1%, and this was actually just slightly less than a 1% change, I feel like we held our own, given everything that could have happened in 2020. Now in math, while it looks like we are on a decreasing level, we are actually still exceeding the state averages, and I find that to be an encouragement. And so what I would like to see in the future, in the very near future, is that we set some goals like what we did back in 2019 in literacy, and we set some math goals as well moving forward. And those are all going to be discussed at a later date. So when I talk about goals, we do have our first one for the CTE department, and that is that the CTE department will evaluate the progress of all CTE students' earned credits toward college readiness and graduation, focusing on CTE concentrators and completers by October of each year, including this year. Data will be reported quarterly to the site principals, the directors, the counselors, and the superintendent. Now, keeping in mind, we're going to be monitoring the credits earned. Let's talk about core subject credit concerns. I showed you the data. I mentioned what my thinking is as far as goals go for core subject. And I know that this is one of those things that was brought to our attention. So a plan will be created and presented to the board for approval by the end of this semester. We will be following the state guidelines that you find in your documents, and I'm going to point out some things that we already have going for us in these state guidelines. On this slide, there's a lot of words, and 3 of those bullet points we are already doing. First 2, we are doing those through Cabot, we are doing those through our programming. Then the implementing the well-defined curriculum review process, I'm in the midst of creating a team to do that as we speak. That last one, taught by appropriately certified teachers, that is the most important one at this point. There are 7 different ways for a teacher to become highly qualified. And I want to make sure that if we have anybody who is able to be highly qualified in a core subject in our staff in CTE, that they pursue that. The other option we have with this is co-teaching. We will delve into that deeper when I have my team together, when we talk about all the details of what could be involved there. So while these requirements may seem pretty lofty, I really feel confident that we can do this. We have met most of the criteria. We just need to make sure we're meeting all of the criteria.
And just as a question right now.
Go for it.
Do you have many teachers that are highly accredited?
So every one of our CTE teachers is certified in their CTE area. I am in the midst of researching right now who is close to being highly qualified in a core subject area, who might need to just take an exam or fill out some paperwork for the state, or who may need some coursework. Okay? So I'm in the midst of that. I wanted, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was going to ask, you mentioned co-teaching is another
Yes.
option.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that? What's your preference when you, between co-teaching and what you mentioned previously?
And being highly qualified, having our CTE teachers be highly qualified. I think it depends on which subject area we're talking about. And I will defer to the team that is being created, and so that we can discuss this in more detail, simply because I was not a math teacher.
Yeah, well, I was going to say the difficulty I would see in the current CTE teachers getting highly certified in some subject, is they haven't taught that subject, right? Or maybe they have in the past, but they haven't taught it in several years. And while co-teaching, this can be more complicated, it seems like that might bring to our students a greater level of expertise more immediately.
And that more immediately piece is the one that I think could be beneficial to us, but I want to make sure we do this well, and I want to make sure we do it right. And so once I get that team together, I'll have a better idea of, let me research all of their credentials and then get that team together so that I can see what the feeling is as far as those teachers go as well. And math comes to mind for me because I didn't teach geometry. I taught business math and marketing, so it's a little different. So,
Ms. Miller?
yes.
President Hens? It's important that it's the fourth year math,
Yes.
not all years.
So when we talk about this piece, there are different subjects that could be offered in this embedded credit program, and different classes inside of CTE in which those could be offered. And while I am still researching who can do what, I'm confident we're going to be able to get this figured out and be able to present you with a solid plan. The math and science credits, this is not just that you took your 2 years of CTE class and you are granted math and or science. You need to be able to get science credits. You have to take a 3 Carnegie unit sequence, which simply means at least 3 years of a CTE program. And you will not get that credit until after you have done that particular class. And the mathematics is a 4th credit. It's not earned until that 4th year. So no matter what we do here, it's going to be challenging. I don't see it as insurmountable.
Sounds like there's gonna be a lot of coordination and also needs to be done with counseling staff and just to make sure the kids are getting followed and correctly told
Mhm.
the correct way to reach the level that they'd like to.
And that's part of that quarterly report that we'll be providing as far as our CTE data goes. That is one of the things that we want to do, is make sure that our kids are on track for graduation and what they expected to happen is happening. This semester, I want to talk with students, I want to talk with parents, I want to talk with teachers and find out what is the interest level, what is the support that the students and the parents have for this idea, and what are our teachers' credentials currently. Then I want to create a plan for certification completion and inclusion of already certified staff as appropriate, and that will take that team. So new hires, we're going to be looking at that starting in February.
Sounds like you got a full plate.
I do, because this is my big project for the year. This is what I was passionate about when I was interviewed for the job. And it's coming real fast. But anyway, I will move on.
Chuck has a question.
Chuck.
So
Mr. Wright.
just to be clear, I posed a question a couple of weeks ago about the incoming seniors and some of the ones that were caught in a state of limbo as far as the credits are going on how they're being recorded. So have all those students been dealt with, and have they been grandfathered? Have they been taken care of?
We are in the midst right now of researching exactly who is still potentially affected.
Okay.
And once we figure out who and how many, we will create a plan for them.
Okay.
We want to make sure everybody is eligible. We want to make sure everybody graduates. We don't want to harm anyone.
Yeah, I want to make sure that when those kids were sold the program, when they enrolled in as freshmen or sophomores, that because of something that wasn't explained to them, that they're given a fair shot at completing what they thought they were going to be completing.
And we will work with those counselors and of those students and figure out plans for them.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Dr. Battle has been pretty much right in the middle of this right now, and I think they sent out a board update here not too long ago, kind of addressing a little bit about that, but I think she's well, there seem to be just a couple of kids that this kind of potentially affects and
Yes.
working towards.
Yes, thank you for that, President Hennessy, in support of what Ms. Miller is sharing with you. At no fault, if you will, of our students that understood one expectation or two, we're going to individualize that plan of support and ensure that we hold kids harmless, but we do owe them an education. So we're going to make sure that we're fair. We have wonderful, appropriate, and creative ways in which we can provide that learning to whomever we find that it impacts. And again, I know that Ms. Miller and I have been dancing already,
Yes, we have.
and we're gonna take care of kiddos.
Good deal. Thanks for your help.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it very much. Look forward to getting further updates at some point.
And I look forward to giving them.
That'd be awesome. Dave, we're at 6:18. Should we put this young lady up?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave it down off the screen.
That's great, if that works for you.
I'll give it full volume. Can you hear us now? Hang on a moment, we're still not hearing you.
I'm
There
here,
we go.
I was on mute.
I was fine when I was dealing with the other IT guy.
So hello, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. I can't see anybody. I'm looking at a screen, so I will imagine your smiling faces from afar. So I was asked to come in and share a little bit with you on some of the trainings and facilitations that we have to offer. There's a difference. I mean, we do have trainings where we're really just trying to share content with you. But then we also offer more of a facilitation model, which is trying to facilitate the board in some conversation around a topic in order to help the board with their operations. So Mr. Highland usually writes into the contract as a recommendation one of our team transition trainings, which is, there's two different ones. One is a team member style training. We've done kind of like a mini one of those at some events that we've had, but it's really a time to do a self-assessment in terms of how you bring, what kind of personality you bring to a team situation, and getting to know the team styles of your colleagues, and then identifying some of the strategies for better communication. So understanding what are some of the things that we do that sometimes get misinterpreted, and then what are some of the ways that we can reframe in order for them to be better received by our peers. So that one's usually pretty fun. I mean, it's kind of a personality test, but what I really like is getting the information with some new members and a new superintendent. It would be valuable for people to kind of get to know where folks are and how they process. The other one, which I may have done a while back, was the communication protocols. And that one is really talking about what is the expectation between the board and the superintendent around communication. We cover in that particular training communication between the board and the superintendent. So how often do they want to hear from the superintendent? What kind of information do they want? What constitutes an emergency? When we want to be texted versus, email, that kind of stuff. We also cover agenda setting and, the process that we're used for that, when we expect to get our materials, et cetera. We cover site visits and what the expectation around visiting school sites are. And lately, we've also been covering social media. And then we also cover conversations with community members, families, parents, students, all guided by your own policy. But the nice thing is what seems fair and consistent across the board so that you're all on the same page of how you're operating. So one board member is not interacting with staff and community this way and another board member another way. So those are the two that we usually rely on. We have several others that may be of interest. We do one where we can revisit previous plans. We call it strategic planning, but as you're probably aware, strategic planning is usually a 6 month to a year process. What this is really just a chance for the board, especially we've been doing it a lot with new board members and the current and veteran board members, is it's a chance to look at the current priorities and directions of the district, and then gives everybody an opportunity to say, yes, we still agree to this, or hey, we have some questions or considerations. So it's a nice way to bring on new people. It's also a nice way for a new superintendent to come with their ideas on what we were previously doing and get the board's feedback. So those are a few that I think might be good. But we also do roles and responsibility. We do want advocacy. We do want a meeting effectiveness. We do self-evaluation, which is really good. It gives the board an opportunity to identify where they could improve as a board and create board goals, which are different than strategic goals.
Nikki, and that sounds great. We appreciate that. And that's kind of along, my name's Jack Ennis, and I think we did basically the kind of training, just one that you mentioned with board communications, et cetera, that we did earlier. But you had a big Zoom that we did, I want to say 6 months ago, 8 months ago, something like that. It's been a bit ago. Yeah, and it was very good. We appreciated that. I think you're more so doing time with Steve, just mentioned it was doing the 3-hour facilitated kind of get to know your personality one, just kind of get to know who the folks are, get a little bit better feeling for superintendent, and as before we start jumping off the cliff and heading forward, strategic planning and going, to at least get to know the people. And Steve mentioned it was like a 3-hour, 2.5 hour, 3 hour, something like training.
Yes, team member style one. And I'm sorry, I didn't know that there was one that you in particular. I was just told to come and share what services we have. So yes, that team member style one is ours.
Okay, I think that was the one that Steve would recommend it when we first finished, and I think the board was kind of, after Steve mentioned it to us, after everybody was basing a consensus of doing that one. It's not a training, it's more so you come and we get a chance to kind of, everybody gets to know each other and kind of get a feel for where we're headed, get a better feel for understanding our new superintendent and her beliefs and background as opposed to, an hour-long introduction resume, hiring.
Yeah, so what you'll do is everyone will take an assessment and that will share with us where you lean in terms of your personality and a team, whether that's direct, considerate, systematic, or spirited. And then we talk about what those different things, personalities look like. And what I really enjoy about this one, I've been in HR for a while and there's lots of personality tests, is it tells you what your pitfalls are, your trouble spots, and your bright spots. As a personality test that,
Have you kept private?
No.
No.
But I really like it because I learned a lot about myself. Like, oh, I can see how that would bother somebody else. I never thought about that, But I think it's a good way, and it's a good conversation starter for, hey, And I always tell people it may not make sense now, but next time you're having a difficult situation with a particular board member or your superintendent, pull it out and see if that doesn't help you reframe, how you can go about working with that person.
I think when we first arranged, I think that was the one that believe that as a board, we had kind of discussed, and that was kind of where we were kind of headed as looking into something like that. That was Steve Mylan recommended just as a way to, everybody to kind of get a little, not on the same page, but to kind of get an understanding where people came from, beliefs, thoughts, and, where they wanted, especially with the new superintendent, just get a feel for where we're headed, before we, head straight into full steam. So I guess the question is coming up with dates potentially. We're still kind of looking at dates. Chuck's busy in August. I think August is kind of a busy time, but I think we'd like to do it sooner than later. So I guess everybody just needs to kind of figure out some dates, potentially school started again. But I think we originally were wanting to do it like in an evening, stay away. Yeah, an evening after 5:30 or even a Saturday morning. And weekends are kind of everybody. Probably.
Dance and soccer or something?
Yeah, it's all gonna get busy. I think,
Well,
a
and what I
weeknight.
can do is I can send, because actually Julie and I are all over the state and then also have we're doing lots of training. So we're kind of squeezing people in August, September. So what I can do is get with Mary and see, do you want an evening or a weekend? And then I can present a few dates that one of us would be available.
That sounds
And
great.
then you all can kind of go from there in terms of what would work best for your schedule.
That sounds perfect. And I think the thing where I think a weekday after 5:30 would, I think overall consensus is that would be best if
I think
possible.
that's preferable.
Okay, yeah, we could definitely do that. Make sure that you got the coffee pot going.
We can get coffee. That's not a problem. Anyway, thank you very much. We sure appreciate your time.
Good, Eric.
Thanks. Have a good evening. Okay, we're down to item number E, which is summer school presentation.
Yes, Chairman Henness, we have Andrea Grant, who is the Academy Administrator in town. But she helped to oversee the summer school program that we just experienced. So she has a little bit of information to share with you, and feel free to ask any questions that you may
Can I use the last one?
You can, but sometimes it's kind of touchy. She said.
While you're doing that, you recognize that the PDF is not clear, so we'll make sure that we email you the presentations without the wonderful artwork at the top.
It's unique.
I think it adds something.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now as we speak.
It's definitely is a challenge, that's for sure.
I was worried it was just my tablet.
That's our new logo.
Did somebody say, you blamed it on Dave, is that what you said?
See, I didn't say that.
I'm blaming it on him.
All
I
right.
apologize, go ahead.
No. President Hennis, members of the board, Dr. Battle, thank you for allowing me an opportunity to update you on our 2021 summer school. We held, my name is Andrea Turan, like Dr. Battle said, I'm the new online academy administrator. I was part of the administration team that oversaw a summer school session that was held May 24th through June 10th. It was located at the Vista Grande High School. Our hours of operation were from 8:30 to 1, students were in school. Our priority goal for the summer school session was, as outlined in our strategic plan, viable curriculum that promotes high school student achievement. Our summer school objective was to provide students of CGUHSD students an opportunity to recover credit. I would like to take some time to thank Mrs. Cole for her support and hosting our students during the session at Vista Grande High School. Both Mr. Danzy, assistant principal at Vista Grande, and Ms. Spollinger, Casper Union High School assistant principal, were part of the administration team that assisted on the day-to-day responsibilities of summer school. As you can see, that our summer school staff was included both Union and Vista Grande student teachers. In the content area, we had 4 English teachers, 5 math teachers, 2 social studies teachers, a science teacher. We were able to secure an ELL support teacher and an ESS teacher as well. We also had a counselor, some para support, admin assistants that assisted in our summer school. I am missing very important people on this list. As I was sitting there, I was thinking we had 3 security officers as well. 500 students was a lot of kids to manage. So our total enrollment for summer school this past year was 495 students. 281 were from Union, 214 were from Vista Grande High School. First, we're going to take a look at the Union enrollment students and how they did during summer school. As you can see, out of the 281 students that enrolled in summer school, 192 students were able to earn credit. We did have some kids that did not finish, ran out of time, but 192 students were able to complete a course and earn credit. Here we can see the content areas that were offered during summer school. We had English, 9 through 12. We had math, we offered math courses, social studies, science, and some electives were completed during this session. About 85% were in English, math, and social studies. Here is a breakdown of how many students and how many credits were earned by each of the 192 students that completed a course. As you can see, 124 were able to earn a half a credit. We had 50 students that earned a full credit, 17 that earned a credit and a half, and 1 student was able to recover 2 credits during this time. Now looking at our Vista Grande High School enrollment, out of the 214 Vista Grande students that enrolled, 146 students were able to complete a class and earn credit. A similar breakdown of the courses and how many were completed. As you can see, it's very comparable to the Union completed courses. We had about 82% in the same areas of English, math, and social studies. Here is a breakdown of how many credits were earned by the 146 students that completed a course. 91 of those students earned a half a credit, 35 earned a credit, 11 were able to earn a credit and a half. 4 students earned 2 credits, 3 students earned 2.5, and then we had 1 each with 3 and 3.5 credits.
Wow.
And finally, we had 12 graduates during this time. We had 8 from Union and 4 from Vista Grande. That's it. Any questions?
We used to, quite some time ago, we used to recognize the summer graduates and would have them come.
Yeah, we haven't done that in a while. I think when we held summer school at Desert Winds is when we were holding presentations and recognizing them at the, it's something we can
Is that
look
what it
at
was?
doing.
Okay.
And moving forward, we have talked about some action plans, and our plan is to have the summer school celebrations preferably, depending how many we have at one of the sites, and we'll be inviting all of you to participate.
I think what we did, we basically had
I think they came to the board.
here and they came
Mhm.
here before the board and they were in
The average is
cap and
about-
gown or suits or whatever they, and came and presented to the board.
Looking back at the data, it averages about 12, 15 graduates.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. Sure appreciate that. Any questions?
No. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Battle, for moving forward on that, and getting that put together.
Thank you very much for asking. It's important that we keep you up to date on all things kiddos here at Casper Union, and I appreciate the leadership. It's a talented young lady you all have, and I'm glad to work with her.
Okay, we have nothing else before us here. We'll go ahead and move to adjourn this meeting. Will give us about 3 minutes in case everybody needs to do anything or et cetera, and then we'll jump back into the public meeting at 6:38, 6:40, something like that. That's good. We are adjourned from that meeting.
Netflix
1 minute.
or Amazon maybe, but it was about the Middle Ages and particularly the guy, it was a little dry,
If we can,
but it was
we'll go ahead.
really good.
Go ahead and call this meeting back to order if we could, please. It is 6:41, and Mary, if you would call the roll call, please.
Mr. Kirby,
Here.
Mr. Wright,
Here.
Mr. Lopez,
President accounting for.
Mr. Hennis,
I'll go with that, President accounting for, sounds good.
Mrs. Harrington.
Here.
First up is item B, which is pledge of allegiance. We'd all stand, please. Follow my moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. First up under preliminary items, we have item A, which is to adopt the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I motion.
Motion by Taylor, is there a second? And a second by Chuck. Any other questions? If not, call for the vote, Mary.
Mr. Kirby,
Yes.
Mr. Wright,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Hennis,
Yes,
Mrs. Harrington.
Yes.
you have also on the agenda the minutes from July 13th and July 23rd, the special meeting we had those days. If there's no corrections or adjustments to those, the draft minutes is presented, go ahead and take a motion to approve those.
I made a motion to approve them as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Chuck and a second by Taylor. All those, Mary, call for vote, please.
Mr. Kirby,
Yes.
Mr. Wright,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Hennis,
Yes.
Mrs. Harrington.
Yes.
Item 3 is Dr. Battle, you're up. Superintendent's report, please.
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, we're really excited about having all the kiddos back on campus. The energy is wonderful. I want to thank Mr. Mapp and Mrs. Cole for their leadership and a great start of the school year. We are feeling real good about all the things that we have in place. In regards to our safety team, we've got a continuity of learning team that will keep you updated on some of the comings and goings so we can ensure that we continue to have an environment conducive to learning. Our enrollment numbers, as you have been receiving, are steady, I should say. About 1,700-ish at CG and about a little over 1,400 at Vista. So lots of strategies in place to increase our enrollment to ensure everyone knows that we started a week earlier. Still, even though they communicated very well, some people are still creatures of habit.
It's interesting that the AOI had gone from 47 up to essentially 147.
That's correct. You just stole my thunder.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. And with that, I will not mention it.
That's okay. No, it's all good. So lots of great work there. And again, being very specific to ensure our kiddos are in place. And again, Mr. Ron has done a great job communicating with our vendors to get things up and running and operational. We've got some room for improvement, but we've got the right person to help us take care of that. But again, that's just giving, commendation to our counselors, our principals, our student services folks, and our parents and our students that want to be with us in school. We want to thank them at this time, and we're glad to be able to serve.
I guess one of the questions I had about the increase in AOI, do you have a feel for why there may or may not be the sudden, I mean, that's a pretty dramatic increase from, I think you were expecting maybe around 100 or so, potentially?
Yes, what we have found is the majority of the kiddos were still enrolled at their home school. So there needed to be a transition of who those kids were and to actually apply because there wasn't an application available and or knowledge. Again, we transitioned into a modified year-round. So again, creatures of habit, we believe that will be better in the future.
Okay, the other question I was gonna ask also is, what are the district's current numbers, COVID-wise, et cetera? And I know we get updates on Thursdays.
Yes. So right now, tentatively, I just received communication from Ms. Cole and Mr. Mab that one campus, which I believe is Vista, was 3, and CG was 4 students have confirmed COVID as of yesterday.
Okay, go. Any other questions for Dr. Mendel on the superintendent's report?
I just on the attendance or enrollment of the numbers that we're seeing of in-person versus online, are we getting an additional influx of people of online coming from elsewhere? Or is this some people would traditionally be in person?
Very good question. At this point, Ms. Harrington, we're not seeing any new, if you will, a large influx. There are a few students that are going to open enroll, and we do have plans to market, and working with Mr. Griffiths and other directors. But majority of the kids were already on our campuses, and so there's no incremental new to the ADM.
Any other questions? Yeah, that was one of the questions I was almost gonna ask about that was as things tend to, or seem to ramp up within the county and within the state with COVID, et cetera, it seemed just kind of consequential, that there was a sudden uptick in the kids in AOI, but you said it was just basically capturing and putting them where they were supposed to be in the first place.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, number 4 is call to the public. Do we have any call to the public? Nobody presenting cards? Okay. We're down to item 5A, which is intergovernmental agreement, CAC dual enrollment. Dr. Battle, would you?
We ask that you approve both of the intergovernmental agreements, as we have great partnerships with CAC, and we appreciate the changes that are made for our students to be able to receive dual credit, community college credit at this time.
I have a recommendation by Dr. Battle to approve the intergovernmental agreement, CAC dual enrollment as presented. Okay, a motion to approve that, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the 21-22 IGA with CAC for the dual enrollment as presented.
I second.
There's a motion by Kelly and a second by Chuck. Any other questions? If not, we'll go ahead and call for the vote, please.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Hennis?
Yes.
Harrington?
Yes.
We are down to item B, which is intergovernmental agreement with CABA. These are annual, this is kind of housekeeping kind of stuff like that, so we do these.
Yes, sir. We are very appreciative of the partnership that you all established with Cabot. We're asking and recommending that you approve this year's intergovernmental agreement with Cabot.
I will make a motion to approve the 2021-22 Cabot IG agreement as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Joe and a second by Kelly to approve the intergovernmental agreement 2021-22 Cabot. Any other questions? Call the vote, Mary, please.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Hennis?
Yes.
Harrington?
Yes.
Item C is donations. We are very fortunate and thankful for the donations that come before us. And if we could get a motion to accept with a lot of thanks. These are some very nice things that are being presented here.
I'll make a motion to accept the donations as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Kelly and a second by Taylor. Any other questions? Just a big thank you to everybody. We sure appreciate it.
Big thank you.
Call for the vote, Mary, please.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Hennis?
Yes.
Harrington?
Yes.
Okay, we are down to item 6 was the consent agenda. You have items A through F, listed personnel information reports, warrants, vouchers, student activity, in-state and overnight out-of-state disposal items. Is there anything that needs to be pulled or any questions or on this?
Nope, I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda A through F in its entirety.
I'll second.
A motion by Chuck and a second by Taylor to approve the consent agenda as presented. Mary, call for the vote, please.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Hennis?
Yes.
And Ms. Harrington?
Yes.
I want to thank Mr. Reynolds for taking care of the personnel.
And with that, we are down to item number 7, and we'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting. I appreciate everybody. And enjoy the nice balmy weather out there.
Feel good.
I have a question.
Sure.
I thought one of the discussion items to vote on tonight was gonna be the facilities director. Is that gonna happen tonight or no?
Very good question, Mr. Lopez. We're going to bring that to the board at the next board agenda. I'm following my own expectations that we will be sure that we're mindful of dates and deadlines. The recommended individual will continue in the interim role and paid accordingly, and we will bring him forward in September.
Okay, thank you.
That's great. Any other, then we are officially adjourned at 6:52. Anyway, everybody have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.